Hi, everybody. Grady Polson. Welcome to the America Agency. Should I do dramatic pauses? Dramatic pause. Is the tech work or is he frozen? No, I'm just playing. Hello, everybody. Grady, Jade's freaking out. Grady Paulson here, the America Agency. Beyond excited to be on here with you guys today. Have a great call. You know, we get a lot of good, we have a lot of good calls, a lot of great calls. And where we go into detail about sales and specifics on word tracks and concepts on how to get clients to feel comfortable and different directions we take and disciplines we instill in ourselves and into our business on how to push through the hard times. And oftentimes we're doing it with information we're getting from others that are going at the same speed and pace at which we are, which is a good place to be, right? You want to learn from your peers. You want to learn from others that are making it happen like you are or making it happen more than you are so you can learn from them. But in our world, we sell life insurance and we're blessed to do that. And the beauty of life insurance is that there are contractual guarantees for compensation to the agent for making a sale. And there are contractual guarantees of payment to the client on that worst day in that family's life. Or if we're looking at like IULs, different products like that, payouts and cash value accumulation, living benefits, etc. Oftentimes we do it at the ambition and will of us pushing through and making it happen. And that's a great place to be. I love the fire and fury at which our company goes. The numbers are exploding. We're going to run through some numbers here in a second. But to the group of you on right now, my hope is that you help grow the attendance of this call up into which Devon and Todd come live. And the reason for it is this will be one of the first times we get a look under the hood. We get to see, now I don't want to disrespect NLG and say, we get to see how the sausage is made. We get to see what the Kobe beef, Wagyu, Japanese cow is fed. That's a better example of what NLG is. And that's what is exciting, right? We're blessed to have such a great relationship with NLG. To have such a great partner in Devon Martin, and that he's gone forth and said, I'm going to bring on Todd, the head of NLG underwriting, to spend some time with us to teach us what gets policies hung up, stopped, or what can help expedite it and get it pushed through. And all of this, you know, being totally honest, guys, to those of you on here, a lot of these processes and principles and stipulations of which NLG have parallel other insurance companies. So whether or not you're using 100% NLG, which they hope you do, and we all love NLG, but you might have other cases where you just have a better fit for another client. Learn what underwriters are looking for because they are our friends. Without them, the price of insurance will go up, the benefit will go down, the costs will go up, the commissions will go down, and their job is to get good business pushed through for people that want it and deserve it, can afford it, and qualify for it. So, guys, this is going to be a great call. I love Devon. I'm excited to meet Todd, and just so embrace this sort of educational component. I'll do my best as I try to do to bring levity to the situation, but we're in for a mature call, but one that should give you utmost clarity to know as you're spending money on leads and spending money on your CRMs and spending money on spending time on dialing and submitting that policy on Bob and Betty Jones, that you know with now a significantly increased level of certainty that it's going to get approved and pushed through. And that, to me, as far as a businessman would go, I like that. I want more certainty. I don't want to spend all this time submitting a policy to get to the point where 3 weeks later I find out that I checked the wrong box that I didn't know to check and my upline didn't tell me to check. That's what Todd is. Todd is Moses right now, clearing a path through the Red Sea up to the mount to give us clarity on how to get business pushed through. So my plea to you, as always, is a party is more fun with more people. So join America Live, our new link. Thank you, Sean Simpson, for your ingenious marketing on last week's call. We also have the americaagency.com/live, which is a mouthful for me, despite my auctioneer ability to speak fast. But joinamericalive.com is a shorter link that forwards to our current link. So share that, group chats, WhatsApps, Telegrams, all the places at which you can share links, and invite people to come on. learn from the head of NLG underwriting. Guys, we had to pull some strings. We had to do some things to make this happen. So I'm grateful to Devon, grateful to Todd. We'll get them on here in just a couple minutes, but keep bringing people on. I see the numbers have jumped up 50 since we started. So can we get up another 50? Can we get up another 100? Can we get people sharper today on what it takes to get business pushed through with one of our absolute favorite carriers? Let's jump into some updates, Jade, and we'll get them on here shortly. Live dials, talk about it every week. If you're not dialing with a team, you're dialing alone. And dialing alone is like dying alone. No one likes to die alone. I mean, I've gotten very morbid all of a sudden. Dialing alone is like being on hospice, where dialing with a team is like being on holiday. You're with some of your favorite people. Everybody's making money. You're learning what the word tracks are. Join one of our dial teams. Screenshot this. Check Slack. Check the emails. We'll get you involved in one of our dial teams and put you in a position where you can get better with us. Jay, did you check all the sound and everything? I'm just making sure. Okay, cool. All right, next. Save time, sell more technology for life agents. Life Center. Coming up in, I believe, 2 weeks, we will have the head of Integrity Life Sales on with us on this call. Bringing you the heaters, Devon Martin and the head of Integrity Life Sales. I mean, come on now, we can't we're just bringing the hits. It's like we're Vegas now. Just bringing Celine Dion's coming on in a couple weeks too. But the head of Integrity Life Sales, Kelly, will be on with us talking about all the improvements and advancements that Life Center has made, all the products, and the quick single sign-on at which Life Center has done for us. So if you're not starting to make that part of your business, please do. New agents are loving it because they can buy leads in Lead Center. They're immediately accessible in Life Center. They can click Betty Jones. They can put in her health stipulations. And right within one click, it shows you all the quotes for all the carriers that you're contracted with. And if you like Moo, you like Americo, you like NLG's term, boom. Or you like NLG's IUL, click the button, boom, goes right in, single sign-on into the e-app, whichever service at which they use. Incredible tech, guys. I flash back to having to use paper apps on the wrong states and getting it hung up for days and weeks to find out I got to go back to the house to get a new app filled out on paper and fax it in and wait. And here we are in the technology of 2025, where it allows us to be in a position where we have digital applications and now single sign-on where we don't have multiple screens and all the things. So couldn't be excited for that. Integrity continue to invest in us, in their distribution, and we couldn't be more grateful to be on the front end of it. Top 100 agents, incredible job. Starting off June week 1 as an agency, we did 3.9 million. Let me try to say it. 3,982,423 dollars. 1,050 total agents issued and were paid for a policy in the first week of June. Absolutely incredible. Congratulations to all the way from to Atlantis at 45,000 issue paid. I'd love to read you all, but just you guys see yourselves. It's incredible. Part of this is just, a couple goals, right? If your name's on the list, congratulations. Your goal from there is to move up the list. Stay on the list and move up the list. Now, if your name's not on the list, your goal is to get on the list. That's it. Can you get into the top 100? Can you get yourself recognized? Can you use it as a recruiting tool, right? I was talking to an agent last night, and he hasn't written much this year. And all I said to him was, I'm not going to tell you his name, was my greatest recruiting tool is my own sales. Because you know what that does? It gives the person you're talking to trust. It lets them know you know what to do, you know about underwriting, you know how to get business approved, you know how to navigate the back offices, you know how to overcome objections, you know how to make the client feel comfortable, and you can then teach them, this potential new person who's looking for an opportunity, looking for a new business, looking for somewhere to make money for their family, and then you can guide them along the way. If you don't sell and you're trying to build a business, you're doing it the wrong way. Lead with sales. Lead with protecting families, and you can lead agents along the way as well. So congratulations to the top 100. Congratulations to everyone that made a sale. And now set your goals. If you're on the list, move up it. And if you're not on it, get on it. See you next week on that list. Congratulations to Digna De Leon Morris. 46,197 issued in just 1 month. Shout out from corporate. So we got to give that. The key to being a top manager is leading by example. Shocker. It feels like I didn't even, I didn't even read this slide before I said what I said on the last slide. Leading by example, staying consistent and pouring into your people daily. When you help others win, success becomes inevitable. Great job, Digna. So excited. She will be speaking live on stage and helping us run Ignite Palm Beach. More details to come with that in the coming weeks. But if you're on the East Coast, pencil in with firm. You could blue pen it in. If the date's solid, October 2nd at the Palm Beach Convention Center. Ignite Palm Beach. Got a whole bunch of marketing and new speakers, new lineup, a whole bunch of stuff. So love all 2,000 people that showed up for us at Ignite Phoenix. And now we're doing an East Coast event in October 2nd, Ignite Palm Beach. Digna will be there. She told me she will have over 500 people there. You hear that, Devon? So answer her calls when she calls you, okay? Because she loves NLG. So moving forward, great job, Digna. And Dominique Scalise, great job. 37,143 issue paid. Love Dom. Keep crushing, buddy. All right, one more note before we get into here, as we move forward. So I was talking to Andrew last night, and we were talking about the business and how it's transformed and where we've come from and the early days in this business. And I spent a second and I scrolled through about 7,000 text messages, and I got to the first text message I ever sent to our president and CEO, Sean Mike. I'll have Natasha pull it up here and just quickly read it for you. Maybe any of those that are on auto, that are just listening auditorily. But this was the first text message I ever sent to Sean. It was on March 27, 2018. So any of you that have followed my story or a part of our agency, I owned a software company before I joined Family First Life. And before that, I did some network marketing, lotions, potions, energy drinks, an MLM. It was great. But I listened to a lot of Jim Rohn and Brian Tracy. I learned how to communicate, sort of. And I got to a point where I was confident enough in myself to start that software company. And then that software company didn't become what I dreamt it would become. And I was introduced to Andrew. And with a leap of faith, I put myself in a position where I walked away from a company that I've been building 4 years to buy leads. How about now? Let me know when you're back, because this is going to be good stuff. Thank you, Devon. We're figuring it out. We got 3 people running this show and guests and all the things. So sorry for the hang up, but happy to be back with you. Okay, so I walk away from my software company and I step aside and I take this leap of faith into insurance, trusting Andrew and buying leads and putting myself in a position where it's me against the world, right? My software company, we were grossing 300,000 a month, which was great, but all the expenses we had in that business, I was making 300,000 a month. I was making about 40,000 a year. So, man, my wife was a pediatric oncology nurse. She was the breadwinner at the time, doing all we could. And I saw this opportunity. I saw insurance. I got in the Facebook groups. I got into listen to calls. I did everything I could to put myself in a position where I could learn the information I needed so that I could go serve clients. Now, this is 2018, guys, where we have to actually put on polos and slacks and a bag full of brochures and drive in cars 6, 8, 10 appointments a day, go meet with clients face to face, knock on doors, step over cats, navigate smoke, all the things you got to do. I'm driving, 300 miles a day back and forth across the city trying to meet with clients. And so, but I see it. I see the upside. I see insurance. I see commissions. I see leads. I see a product that can serve the masses. I see someone that delivers the only piece of positive news on the worst day in a family's life. And I embraced it. And I started, and I've told this story before, but my first 10 appointments, the first 9 no-showed me. I finally made a sale on my 10th sit, or my 10th appointment showed up. And fortunately, I'd listened to so much, Trey Honeycutt and John Wetmore training in that period of time that I was able to make a sale because I just repeated their words, because I'd listened to them so many times leading to those 9 appointments and leaving those 9 appointments, that if I just had a chance to talk to someone, I knew I could help them feel comfortable and move them forward. And I was able to do that on my 10th appointment. Fast forward, and ended up writing 14,000 my first month. I wrote 8,000 my second month, because what you do after you make $14,000 in a month, more money you've ever made ever, you go on vacation, right? And so you go on vacation, and which isn't something I'd ever advise anyone ever to do. And so I tell this story as a cautionary tale. But we went and visited her mom, my wife's mom. We bought her a new TV. I filled her pantry with groceries. We went out to dinner every night. Like, life was good. I was like, holy cow, honey. But then, a couple chargebacks hit. I wasn't as consistent as I was that first month. Wrote 8, and all of a sudden it's like wake up call. And so my third month my third month, March, I ended up writing 30 in my third month, because I got serious. I got focused. I bought more leads. I invested in myself. And I sent that picture below to Andrew, and he goes, you got to send this to Sean. And I didn't know Sean. All I knew was Sean on the calls. And Sean's always been amazing. But Sean in 2018 was General Patton. Like, you don't cross or mess with or disturb General Patton unless you've got, unless there's, the Germans are coming across the front line. Like, you just don't. So, hey, Sean, Andrew told me to send this to you when I started on January 12th. I almost started crying just reading this, guys. January 12th, I never could have imagined having a day like this. So blessed. Stoked to see you on Thursday. We're having an opportunity meeting on Thursday. He was coming out. To do an opportunity meeting in Arizona, and I'd written $7,600 that day, in person, face-to-face, paper apps. Issued 30 my third month, guys. This isn't me. This is the opportunity which you have in front of you. This is leads. This is FFL. This is insurance. And if you will embrace it, and you will get over yourself, and you will listen to the calls, and you will master the scripts, and you will make yourself uncomfortable, and you'll put yourself in a position where you are forced to grow. There's 2 ways we grow: emotional impact or repetition. Emotional impact or repetition. I emotionally impacted myself every single day by dialing the phone and going to strangers' homes. And I did repetition by listening to calls and dialing the phone every day. Did everything I could to change my family's life. You all have this chance at your fingertips. You have a future which you can look back on in years, to look back on a text message you said to your CEO, and be beyond proud of yourself. And none of this is for me. This is for you to see that the guy who sits here has done every single thing you're doing. I've done every single thing you're doing, and I want you to push through the muck and the ick and the stress at which this business can clunk up around your ankles, and just shake your feet off as you're trudging through the mud and keep running, because a future for you, a future you desire, is available here. Insurance is an incredible industry. People are running to work with us right now because other industries are collapsing. And here we are, solid, sound, true. And I'm blessed to have two men who run and work for one of the absolute best carriers in the industry on to tell us how to do better. So, guys, thank you for the time. Thank you for listening. I can end this segment and bring on Devon and Todd now. And if you're mildly inspired, drop an NLG in the chat below to show Devon and Todd some love. Let's fill it up. Give them some love. So thank you for listening. So, all right. How are we, gentlemen?
Great, Grady. Great.
Cool.
Excited to be here, man.
Awesome. Can you make us even, Natasha? Is that possible? I don't know. Maybe you can't. We're learning. We've never had 3 on, but I'm so stoked Todd's here. Well, we'll highlight them when they come on. Whatever. Let me give them a good intro. All right. Hello, everybody. Grady Paulson, the American Agency. So excited to have Devon Martin and Todd Bateman on with us. Devon is one of our favorite carrier reps, and I hate even calling him a carrier rep. It just sounds like the milkman or something. No, he's like a buddy and a guy that you can trust and someone that's got your back, works hard, and he represents one of our absolute favorite carriers, NLG. I don't know if you noticed, Devon, but I put on my NLG green with a little gray and green pocket square. This is all for you. So, and Todd, but we love NLG. Their IULs, their customer support, their agent support, their app, all the things that make their history give us confidence, and our clients confidence to trust us to buy a product from a company like NLG. And so excited to have Devon on. He could do a better job in introducing Todd, but all I've heard is Todd is the guy. And if Todd says it, and it is, and he's the Jesus of underwriting, basically. So we're excited. That was two biblical references, Moses and Jesus, in the same call today. And so, but beyond excited to have both of them on here from NLG, one of our favorite carriers. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. If you are on with us now, wonderful. But my bigger goal would be invite some of your agents on. Who do you know that sells IULs? Who do you know that should be selling more IULs with us? This is the call. Who's selling a lot of insurance? This is a call where they can learn more about how to do it better. So join America Live, invite them on. But without further ado, I'll pass it over to my main man, Devon, and see, how are you doing today, brother?
Doing great, Grady. How are you, man?
I'm excellent.
Good. I appreciate you more than having us on here. And thank you to your staff. And thank you to all the agents that are on here. So as Grady said, Devon Martin at National Life Group, I have the humble honor and privilege of supporting you guys in your business. We know that you could have any carrier on this call, and we don't take that for granted. So thank you for all that you do. Todd, I'm going to introduce him, and he's obviously going to be able to speak for himself, but he's too humble to talk about himself. So Todd's been everywhere in underwriting at National Life Group. He started out as an underwriter, and then he led our large case team. So any face amounts over $5 million, and now he's just kind of controlling everything in underwriting. So he's amazing, he's incredible, and he's too humble to say that about himself. But Todd, you can go ahead and introduce yourself as well.
Thank you, Devon. So first of all, Moses, Jesus, Devon, I don't know that I've ever been built up as much as I've been built up today. So I need you guys to talk to my wife too. So and my daughters. But no, I honestly thank you for giving us the time to talk to all of you. My first job out of college was selling supplemental cancer insurance door to door. So I've done a lot of what you all do, and I will tell you that I was not successful because I didn't have the support that you clearly have, and I didn't have the individual drive and commitment to improving myself and focusing on what I can do to be better, because it was scary and it was tough. So if I couldn't do that, I could at least underwrite the life insurance, right? So I'm here because we want to talk about FFL, getting business in, and helping to get it approved. Devon, I think you wanted to talk before I launch into anything, though, right?
Yeah, I just want to kind of lay out the foundation for a second. So one thing about FFL is that the leaders will never ask you to do anything they haven't done themselves, and you guys have the perfect system down to be successful. So with that said, we're going to tailor it to specifically to National Life Group. And what we're going to talk about is, one, how to get you guys approvals faster, because it's no secret. The submission to commission journey, the shorter that is, the more money you guys get quicker, which means that's more money to invest into your business and buy leads. So I will say, how you all fill out that electronic application is just as important as the health of the client. And what I mean by that is 36% of applications at National Life Group never touch an underwriter. They instantly approve. FFL's average is 23%. And that's a huge gap that we want to solve to. And that's what Todd's going to talk about. And while we do this, I also want to emphasize the importance of placement. So we have persistency and we have placement. Persistency is how long is a client paying for the policy after it's been issued. Placement is as simple as how many applications issue that I submit to the carrier. So if I submit 100 applications and 80 end up issuing, I have an 80% placement. I use that number very intentionally. We want to make sure that your placement is at least 80%. And it doesn't benefit you guys at all when your policies don't issue, because as Grady said, You pay for the lead, you sell the policy, you go through that time, and then the case doesn't issue and you don't get paid. So placement impacts you guys more than anybody else too. So that's just laying down the foundation. We got to improve our placement, and let's talk about how to get you guys paid faster and figure out how we can make it so 35+% of your cases never touch our underwriters. So Todd, you're the master. I'm going to pass it to you, and then we'll kind of MC this as we go.
Wonderful, thanks. So I've got a PowerPoint presentation I'm going to share. I don't love PowerPoint presentations because it's too easy to get caught up in what's on the screen versus having a conversation about the information. So I'm going to go through this because I think it is important to see. Some people learn by listening, some people learn by seeing. So I want to kind of do a combo, but we're also going to have time to have question and answers as well. Grady, I'll stay here till midnight if you want me to, but I know time is important. So please keep me honest. If I need to stop talking, please let me know.
We don't want your wife any more mad at you than she already is. So
I don't know why you think she's so mad at me, because you're right, but that's okay. All right, let me share my screen here.
And again, Q&A for sure, guys. Throw in the chat box. We want this to be kind of a conversation more than a presentation.
Agree.
If you just hit present, Todd, that allows you to present your screen.
Yep. Can you see my screen right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. You see the go from submission to submission?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. And Devon and I did not plan the phrase submission to commission, so I'm glad you threw that in, Devon.
I didn't even know that was on your slide. Yeah, that's awesome.
I know, it's great. So top 10 tips to how to get your cases approved faster. Number one, ask all the questions on the application. I say this, it seems really obvious, but it's so important that you actually read through the application and talk to your client about what those questions are asking. When we look at getting cases approved quickly, you heard Devon talk about the instant approvals. We have an automated underwriting engine, which is a mouthful. I call it a robot. We've got a robot that looks at all of your applications that are submitted electronically, and it's instantly making decisions about, hey, can I price this risk or not? And then if I can't price it, can I send it to an underwriter? 35% of the time, that robot makes a decision based on the information that's both in the application and in all of our other data sets. And I'm going to talk about those other tools that we have in a minute. But it's merging what you have on the application and what we know about the client based on all of the other information that we've got on them. So the better they answer the questions to tie to the history that we know about them, the easier it will be to get your applications through the system. If they don't reveal significant information that we find in these other tools, we have to ask questions. Our job is to make sure that we're pricing the risks the right way. And if we see that there's a disparity between our tools and the application, we have an obligation to find out what's the full story.
Todd, are you able
to
disclose those other tools in any capacity? Like, I mean, you know, we go Milliman or we go MBD rec. I mean, but just a lot of times agents use those cues as points to gather information and also to elevate themselves when communicating with the client, to let them know we're not just throwing it into something. I'm actually an educated, broker. This is what we're putting it in, and please be as honest and clear as you can, Betty, because they're going to find it out anyway. What are those
Spot
things
on.
could help?
Yeah.
Could jot that down.
So I've got a couple more slides down the road. I've got great examples of exactly what an underwriter will see. And I'm going to talk about what those tools are, how they work, because that's a really important part of this process. Exactly to your point. It's like we practice this. We really didn't. But I'm glad you brought that up. So I will get to that for sure.
Wonderful.
So tip number 2, really ask all the questions on the application. And I say this again, it's a little tongue in cheek, right? But it's that important that 2 out of my top 10 tips, ask the questions on the application. The application is designed to help you gather all of the information that we need to price that. Does your client have diabetes? There's a question along those lines. Answer yes. It's going to ask you things. Hey, when were you diagnosed? What was your last A1C? When was your last A1C? That kind of information is, first of all, going to help your case be approved instantly, because it's able to get all this important information and make a decision based off of that. But secondly, if it can't make an instant decision, When it gets to the underwriter, they're going to see that information and they'll be able to make a decision many times right away without having to reach out and get more information. So it's not just ask the basic questions, but as you're filling the application out, it will trigger additional questions if it needs to. Very important to follow that through. Tip number 3. There's pre-filled boxes on the electronic application. It's going to be things like, occupation. You can choose the occupation. There's different medications and things like that. Our robot is designed to interpret those boxes and make decisions off that information. There's going to be options where you can do other or do like a free form. You can use those if there's no better option, but those will never be approved automatically. Those will always go to an underwriter. So just understand that if you're not using the pre-filled boxes, you're going to slow the process down. Use the boxes when you can. If you can't, make sure that the information you're providing is important and it tells the whole story. So if it does have to go to an underwriter, the underwriter will then be able to make a decision at that time right away. But these cases will, even if a case is not instant approved, I really want to make sure that I make the point of saying, we only order medical records on 4% of our cases, and we only order examine labs on about 4% of our cases. So more times, like 96% of the time, we're just reaching out to get more information that wasn't on the application. So yes, maybe it's not instant approved, but give us a few days. We're going to look at that, and we might reach out to you, and we might say, hey, they said they don't have diabetes, but this report tells us they do. Can we get some more information? And most of the time, if you just give us that information, we can make a decision right then. And again, I'm going to talk about the tools in just a second.
And Todd, just in that same breath, so instant approval, it's again the difference maker of you guys getting paid as soon as 1 week or having to go back and forth with an underwriter and waiting a couple weeks to get paid. The one big one is that a lot of agents don't disclose the insurance carrier activity. So to Todd's point, just because a case doesn't instantly approve doesn't mean that we're asking for a paramed or needing an APS or medical records. A lot of times it's as simple as, hey, we saw your client filled out an application with an insurance carrier 4 months ago. Did they accept that policy? No. Okay, now we can issue the policy. If you disclose that in the application, because you guys buy leads, clients are talking to different agents all the time. If you disclose that, then it's going to instantly approve.
Well said, Devon. Thank you. You stole one of my tips, but that's fine. It makes it that much more important when I get to it. Tip number 4, clarification questions should be asked if prompted. So this means, so there's something called MIB, stands for Medical Information Bureau. It doesn't stand for Men in Black, but it's basically, it's a warehouse of information that life insurance companies share with each other. Very basic information. It doesn't tell me how bad somebody's diabetes is, but if they've applied at another carrier, it will tell me that that other carrier found that they had diabetes, either because they admitted it on the application or we found it in records. But there will kind of be a red flag on this person's name, so that when we get an application and we reach out to MIB and say, hey, do you know anything about this person? They will tell us, oh, they had a history, they were found to have diabetes in the past. And so when we look at your application, the robot knows if you say no to diabetes, but 3 months ago, they applied at insurance company ABC and that company found they had diabetes, my robot will see immediately, hey, they said no to that question, but company ABC said that there was a diabetes history in the past. So at the end of the application, it's going to say something to the effect of, we have information from a confidential source suggesting your client has a history of diabetes. Please provide details. That's your giant red waving flag in your face saying, hey, you should really dig into this with your client right now. This isn't going to go automatically approved, but the more information you can get at stage will give you the ability for that underwriter, when it gets to them, to look at this, say ABC said they've got diabetes. Oh, the agent wrote in here, oh, they were diagnosed with diabetes in 2018. Their A1C has been 6.2 since then. It's so well controlled, they forgot they had it. Whatever the story is, but that gives the underwriter something to work with when they get that. Understand that that question is being asked because we have very reliable information suggesting that we don't have the full story on the application. So again, super important to fill that out because it's going to put your case in a position to move forward a whole lot faster. Tip number 5, does it make sense? Does it make sense that we have, for example, I don't know, my dad's a bus driver. Let's say, does it make sense for a bus driver to have a $10 million application with National Life? This is just an obviously doesn't make sense. The answer is no. However, what the application doesn't give you room to say is they just won the lotto and they won $100 million or whatever it might be. The cover letter is a great opportunity to explain whatever doesn't make sense at a quick glance, right? Tell that story in a cover letter. Super important, can make things so much easier if it has to go to an underwriter.
Just know that when you guys do include an attachment, it won't instantly approve. So that's something I would fall back on when you know that the case isn't going to instantly approve. But anytime you include an attachment, even if it's an illustration, it's not going to instantly approve. So only do that when you know for a fact it's necessary. Just something to keep in mind.
Great call, Devon. Thank you. Tip number 6, Devon already talked about, but tell us about your prior insurance activity. I was talking about MIB. Not only does it tell us about history from a medical perspective, but also it'll say, hey, Todd Bateman has applied for 6 different insurance applications at 6 different carriers in the last 6 weeks, right? You don't need to know a lot about life insurance to know that might be a concern. So first of all, it helps us know if is this a concern? Tell us a story. If there's a reason behind this, by all means, there's always explanations for things. So it's your opportunity to tell us. But it's also, we need to know, are they going to have all of this insurance? Maybe they've got great offers on all of it. They're going to take it all because they don't want all their eggs in one basket. Sometimes that's perfectly fine. I just need to make sure that this person, isn't getting way too much insurance, that we don't want people worth more dead than they are alive. And so that's one of those big red flags. And it's a very common one that we get with your group is not getting disclosure about the prior activity. Most of the time, it's only a couple of carriers, and if you disclose it on the application and indicate are they taking that coverage or not, that case can still be approved automatically. It's when you don't share that prior insurance activity that's going to get sent to an underwriter. It's going to slow the process down. We will still handle it very quickly. But that instant issue is what you guys are looking for. Make that approval instantly. The best way is to tell us the full story. So the other thing that I would say is to explain to your clients how our tools work, our medical claims database and our lab picture. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about them now, and then after I'm done with my list, I'll show you actual examples. But medical claims database is where when you go to your doctor, and you use health insurance to pay for your routine exam or whatever it might be, your doctor bills your insurance company, your health insurance. Your health insurance company uses codes, billing codes, diagnosis codes, whatever you want to call it. And they bill the health insurance company and they say, hey, Todd Bateman had this procedure done. Your health insurance company then says, okay, this makes sense based on what we know about Todd. Of course, he would have this test done. And then they pay for it. We work with a company that collects all those diagnosis codes, and it tells us, hey, here's all the things that Todd Bateman has had done in the last 6 years. Here's what the doctors said were his diagnoses. He had chest pain and he had high blood pressure and those kinds of things. If you've ever had to try to get health insurance to pay for a thing that they don't want to pay for because they don't have evidence, it's really hard to do that. And so we have a pretty high degree of confidence with this information based on all the data points that we have. We use this instead. This is why we don't get a lot of medical records, because we have this tool and it tells us a ton of information. Our robot can read this instantly and it can find this information and it can price this information and it can make offers instantly with all this information. The challenge we get is when this information doesn't match what's on the application, or sometimes this information is more complicated. We have to dig into it, of course. And I'll show you an example of that in a few minutes. The other thing we have is lab picture, and that shows you anytime you've had to get a blood draw to have your cholesterol checked and things like that. Your doctor's office will send it to a lab company, and we work with a company that gets all the data from the lab companies, and it shows us on a nice report, hey, Todd's cholesterol was 250 last year. This year it was 150. Great job, Todd. Sometimes it'll show us biopsy results and things like that. We use these tools from a protective perspective to make sure there's nothing scary we don't know about, but it also gives us opportunities to use credits. And I can say, wow, Todd's improved his cholesterol. We're going to give him some credits. Oh, Todd's getting all the checkups he's supposed to get. We're going to give him some credits. And it's important to talk about how this works with your clients, because it's an incentive for them to understand. It is really important for them to tell us the story on their application, admit their information, because we're going to find it. And it is so much easier for your client to have that first shot to tell the story before an underwriter looks at this history and makes up their own mind about what this means. There's always more color on the canvas that a client can add to the story to help us make sure that we're making the right decision. I'm going to dig into that more. But I think with your group, especially too, understanding diabetes is important. I always talk about diabetes. The best example that I've ever been given was, imagine that when you've got diabetes, you've got high blood sugar. Think of it as having sand in your blood, and it's coursing through your body. And the worse your blood sugar is, the more sand is in your blood. And as you know how sand is all rough. I just spent the weekend at the Jersey Shore, and it just like gets on you, and it's like, ugh. Imagine that inside your bloodstream, irritating all your arteries, irritating your kidneys and your heart, and inflaming it and causing damage. That's why diabetes is a scary thing, because that's effectively what diabetes does to your body. And so we're trying to make sure there's a wide spectrum of people with diabetes. Some of them have it well controlled, some of them do not. We look for evidence of poor control or good control. And so when we see people with diabetes, the longer you've had it, the worse the risk is. So type 1 diabetics are usually diagnosed at childhood, so they have diabetes forever. Long time for somebody to have to maintain control of their blood sugar. It's almost a full-time job. It's possible, and there's lots of great advances in the medical field to help that. But it's a long-term risk that we need to be aware of. Conversely, if you're diagnosed in your 60s, or if you're in your 60s and you've got diabetes and it's well controlled, we can usually make some arguments that they've gotten very far in their life. We don't see any evidence of concern. They're not going to live probably another 60 years, right? Let's be honest. So they have a shorter period of time within which diabetes can cause damage to their body. So we can be more aggressive on those older age folks with well-controlled diabetes. Younger individuals, especially under the age of 30 with diabetes, most of the time we're not going to be able to make an offer on those folks, just because they are going to be a much higher bucket of risk. It's harder to price. Also, if we see signs of things like kidney damage, so if you have somebody who's got chronic kidney failure or liver damage, amputations are often a sign of a diabetic case that we can't place, because that means there's been so much damage done to their nerves and their blood that their appendage isn't getting the nutrition that they need, and that's why they had to cut a toe off or a foot, things like that. Those are signs of poorly controlled diabetes, and we mostly won't be able to make an offer on those cases. And I could talk about diabetes all day long, but again, I want to make sure I'm respectful of everybody's time. But in a really quick nutshell, that's why diabetes is such a concern. And if you are filling out an application for a client with diabetes, and they start saying things like, I haven't had my A1C tested in a long time. I don't know what my A1C is. I don't know when it was last done. That's a pretty good sign in your head that you should be thinking, this person's diabetes is probably not well controlled. So I need to think about what kind of expectations I should be setting for this client. I should be thinking about, is National Life the right place for a client who potentially has uncontrolled diabetes? Devon, anything you want me to add on that?
So what Todd just said was a lot of great information. So after age 30, we can consider you for diabetes to give you insurance coverage. However, there's a certain things that are involved. If your client has kidney disease, can't do anything for them. If they're amputated in some way, shape, or form, then we can't do anything for them. So If you're diabetic, you can get issued a policy with National Life Group potentially, but it just depends on the case-by-case scenario. Knowing when not to submit the application is just as important as anything else. So he gave you those red flags. Todd, can you speak on getting an instant approval potentially with diabetes? Is it as simple as just making sure you disclose all the information, correct?
Spot on. Just make sure you give us the information. When were they diagnosed? Is it type 1? Is it type 2? What's their A1C? We can still make express 2 offers, express 1 offers. We can make standard offers. Depending on the older the age, the better the offer most of the time. And they will be automatic offers as long as the information is there and there's no concerns.
Love it.
Great. All right. One of the last 2 tips, medication details. Let's take a medication like Rogaine. Rogaine is something that people take to grow their hair. Rogaine is also a medication that will have an impact on prostates. So it can reduce your PSA if you're a male with elevated prostate. 2 very different things, and 2 things that are, if somebody's trying to grow their hair, I'm not too worried about it. If somebody's taking it for their prostate, I need to know a little bit more about what's going on. So it's less about, hey, what medications are you taking? But it's much better to say, what diagnosis are you taking it for, right? That's what helps us understand what's going on with this person and what kind of information should we actually know. And there's a lot of people who say, well, I don't take anything. That's fine, but what are you prescribed? Not everybody likes to take their medication like they're supposed to. So it's important that you also ask, is there anything that you're prescribed but you don't take? It's a nuance, but that's going to help you get the right information on the application that helps you get your cases approved either instantly or much faster once it gets to an underwriter.
We've said this line for, I've said it for 7 years now. What are you taking, taken, or have been prescribed, but even chosen not to take? That's it.
That's wonderful.
Gotta know them. Because Betty, they're going to see it because they send it to CVS. And it's just regardless if you went and picked it up, it's at CVS and that's what they see. So taken, or have been prescribed and chosen not to take. So
I'm going to steal that line if you don't mind.
It's yours.
Awesome. And then, so the last tip, urgent care and ER visits, please disclose them. If we make sure you're talking to your client about this, hey, it's important if you've gone to urgent care or ER, underwriters have a tendency to look at these kinds of visits a little more critically. It's a sign of an emergency, right? Or something urgent. And I recognize people use urgent care sometimes as a PCP nowadays, but lots of questions come from these kinds of visits, and the more information that you can tell us, the better it is. Even if the client thinks it's a non-issue. Hey, I went to the ER 2 months ago because I was playing football in the backyard and I broke my ankle. From a life insurance perspective, that's not a concern, and I won't even think twice about it. But if they don't tell me that, and I see a hospital visit or an ambulance ride to the hospital, admitted for surgery, all these opioids, I have to ask questions.
Yeah.
Admittedly, once you tell me the answers, cool, I can approve it, no problems. But it's so much better if you put that in the application so that the robot can see that, can match it to the data, approve it instantly. You don't have to talk to Todd. Everything's fine. It's all about that disclosure and getting the stuff on the application.
Todd, quick question on meds.
Yep.
How far back do we go? And what if clients just flat out don't remember the meds they were prescribed?
Yeah, totally fine. So great timing because I have a screen full of prescription medications on the monitor here. But we usually go back about 7 years for prescriptions, and people forget about the medications they take all the time, or they took this one medication 3 years ago for 2 months, and totally get it. Those things will happen. If you forgot about the Alzheimer medication you took a year ago, we're definitely going to want to be concerned about that and ask you questions. If you forgot about the cholesterol med that you took 4 years ago, we're probably not going to be too concerned about that one. So it really depends on the kind of medication it was, how long ago it was, how often you used it, all that kind of fun stuff. But we've got a lot of logic behind the scenes where our robot can see the prescription history, it can see the diagnosis, history, and it can flag us for things that might be concerns. It will still often automatically approve those cases, depending on how bad those meds are. But again, the more information that you can get from your client, the easier the whole process will be. This is an example of what an underwriter sees with our medical claims database stuff. We see all the medications a person has taken. We see the dates they filled them. We see how often they filled them. We often get a client who says, "Hey, that medication, they gave me that a year ago, and I never filled it again." And then I can say, "Well, this thing says you filled it 37 times." I have to get a little more clarity around that, right? So you might see us ask questions like this, and this is why, because we're seeing a report like this. So a lot of what you guys have to do is explain to your clients, why are they asking me these questions? Where are they getting this from? We're getting it from the health insurance and all the things that they're paying for. They tell us all this information. I can see the doctor that prescribed it. I can even see the pharmacy that they got it from. So this is huge for us. And the other thing it does, it give me a timeline. I've tried to highlight the most important things, but this is an example of a person who had an EKG done on January 27th. An EKG is where they have the wires on the stickers on your heart. And I can see that they were there because of chest pain. And then I can see a few days later, they had a chest x-ray done. And then I can see 13 days later, they had a scan of their arteries and their necks that feeds blood to your brain, and they found a blockage in that artery. Those are the kinds of things that underwriters are seeing in their reports, and these are the kinds of things that we might ask you questions about. There's usually a story. This could be a perfectly fine story, by the way, and there's a rational explanation for this that we won't be concerned about. But as an underwriter, I've got to take a look at this and say, this is a concern. I can't approve this without more information. Sometimes I might need to get records. Sometimes I might be able to just shoot you an email or make a phone call out to you to get some clarity. But this is the level of detail that we get, and and we can match this with the prescription database stuff. So I can see, for example, January 27th, 2012, right here, this person took lorazepam. This is an anti-anxiety medication. It's entirely possible that this person had chest pain because of anxiety, but it's really hard for me to draw that conclusion without getting information from the agent and the client to tell me that story. And then this is an example of the labs that we'll get back on a person. Great for people with diabetes. We often get their A1C. If they're well followed, we have a tendency to have a good digital footprint of what their history has been. Great tool to be able to make really good decisions with minimal information. Also a great opportunity to give credits and get to better rate classes for your clients as well. All right, so I took too much time on that, Grady. I apologize, but I want to make sure we have time for questions if we have any.
Yeah, and I also, just one last thing. We're not a last resort carrier. So if a lot of clients are getting denied at final expense, which, by the way, you've never heard me talk bad about another carrier or agency or anything. I never would. I'm just talking about where we fit. There is a need for final expense. That's why it exists. But if your client gets denied there, we're probably not going to take them. But I want to be very clear. We're very liberal in underwriting, and I'll give you a specific example. We are able to issue policies for people with tax identification numbers, a TIN. You don't have to have a social. So if that's why they were denied and they're healthy, different story. But if they're denied for health reasons at final expense carriers, don't submit it to us to see if it sticks, because that's not the kind of company we are. 176 plus years old, 100% mutual, #1 IUL in the entire industry, and we're going to keep it that way. So that's just one thing I wanted to leave there. But please, Grady, you can ask questions too, but I want all the agents to ask anything. Even I got a guy or complaints or headaches. We want to hear from you now.
Yeah, guys, please drop some questions, but let me help give some clarity and confidence to these agents. So guys, as you sell insurance more and more and more, you're going to level up your maturity at what kind of client you will take. And what I mean by that is, early on, you may ask less questions because you're trying not to challenge the client, because it might be the 1st or 5th or 15th time you've actually had a client on the phone that wants to go through an app. A very client that doesn't know a lot. I don't know. I have diabetes, but I don't know my A1C, or I don't remember my medications, or I might have been applied for some insurance. Or a client that's not a partner with you is a client that's hiding something. And it's important for you to level up a level of maturity with your business, because it's one, you're wasting your time. You're wasting NLG's time. It's almost like leaving voicemails. You're giving false hope to yourself that they're going to call you back. They don't call back. So don't submit policies when you don't have a full picture on what it is or what they have. And so, but at the same time, an agent that's challenging, and listen, so I need more clarification on that. It popped up at the end of my screen saying there's something about diabetes. Oh, you don't know? Listen, this is $1 billion company that has all the resources in the world. And it's something's coming up, Mary, that we just need. Can you try to think? Can you try to remember? Well, all of a sudden the well comes out, right? Well, ... I don't feel like I did. The doctor said I was good, right? But see that now we're getting information. And so for you guys as agents, the partnership that we have with carriers is that we submit the best business we can with the most information. I'm helping my daughter start to 5-paragraph essays, right? The intro, the 3 paragraphs, and the conclusion, right? If you're missing one, it's not a 5-paragraph essay, right? So in our world, if we're not completely disclosing all of the information, then we're not being the best partner we can. So all I'm hearing a lot in this through the questions is that agents will, I would, and I don't know what the scale is, but the more you challenge and it's not challenge the client, but you go, I'm on your team, Mary. We need to put this information in together so I can get the best chance for us to get this approved, right? And that comes all the way back into building rapport. Why are they getting it? Is it tax or retirement income? Is it living benefits? Is it strictly death benefit? What is the goal of this policy? Who's it going to protect? Do they have any living benefits? Are they on their 9th job in 9 years, and so they don't really have good insurance at their job, and they'd like to get a permanent policy with a great carrier that they actually have built-in living benefits? God forbid if they do become chronic or terminal. Do they not have a good retirement and they're focused on cash value? Like, build that value on what you're trying to sell early on, so that when you get to this component of the application, that there's trust to give you all the information. I don't remember what medication I filled 37 times. No, they don't. They're hoping they can pull wool over your eyes. They're hoping you're not smart enough. The guy that's applied to 6 different insurance companies in the past 3 months hasn't found someone that he's trusted enough to give him all the details. It's got his back or her back. Right. So that, like, this comes from, like, the better you dig and the more you push, the more the client's going to trust you. Right. And then they're going to give you information. They believe that you're not just someone else. You're not just an online carrier where they fill information and cross their fingers they get approved. They get pushed through one of the 7 different products they have. No, you're partnered with one of the most reputable carriers in the industry. So a lot in there, but this is coming on the lack of maturity that an agent may have to be cautious of not asking the questions, wasting your time and waiting weeks to find out that 7 different things popped up, and now you can't get them back on the phone. You're affecting your placement. You're affecting the carrier. You're giving yourself false hope that you're going to get this policy approved. Challenge them more early on. Push for the answers. Dig into the questions and put yourself in a position where you're submitting the absolute best business possible. I would give NLG only my best clients, because this is a carrier you want to have a relationship with forever. So I hope some questions are popping up in there, but that was just some anything you guys want to touch on verbally, because not everybody can see the questions, and on the recording they can't see the questions either. So we want those to be highlighted.
Great call out, Grady. So there's a question about HIV. How does National Life, generally speaking, how does National Life handle HIV? So a couple of years ago, the state of California passed a law saying life insurance companies cannot decline in the state of California purely for the diagnosis of HIV. We took that from California, and we decided if we're going to treat clients in California that way, we should treat everybody in the country that way. So we won't decline just for the diagnosis of HIV, but we will underwrite. Hey, is that HIV controlled? Are there other complications tied to HIV? So for individuals who have well-controlled HIV for a good period of time, let's call it 5 years off the top of my head, we want to make sure their CD4 counts are high. We want to make sure they don't have any associated complications. we can often make offers for those folks. It's going to be rated because this is a condition that has been known, obviously, to have an impact on mortality. So it's probably going to be an Express 2. Some of the great ones are Express 1s. But understand these are complicated cases, very challenging ones to underwrite and to price properly. So the industry in general is very cautious with individuals with a diagnosis of HIV.
Well said, Todd.
That's awesome.
I'm going to address the question on the simplified issue IUL, but I don't want to spend time on that because we don't have a ton of information about it. And since Todd's on the call, I want to make sure we get all the underwriting questions. Yes, National Life Group is coming out with an instant decision IUL. Don't ask me when. I'm going to tell you soon, but soon can be relative. I wouldn't give you a date, but if I were to give you a date, it'd probably be mid-September. Read between the lines. But instant decision IUL, National Life Group is coming out with one, approve or denied. Yes, we're coming out with that. But questions for Todd or anything else on underwriting. Whatever I host these, you guys have way more questions for me than underwriting. And I just say it with a lot of confidence, but Todd actually has all the knowledge. So
the 10 questions were the 10 points were brilliant. But if you like, what makes your eyes roll, Todd? Like when you open an app and you're like, oh, like again, like, I mean, it might've been the 10 points, but what are the 3 of the 10 that are like going to encapsulate 75% of holding up? Because these guys sell a lot of insurance. Like we sell a crazy amount of insurance, and we should be selling more with you. And it just might be because of it, lack of knowledge, lack of confidence, newer agents or other agents are just selling with other carriers, whatever. But I want them to get the best experience possible over the next 30, 60, 90 days with NLG, as they can quickly not do the eye roll underwriting mistakes. What are those top 3 that we can just go,
sure,
this, and this, and you're almost there?
Love it. We get so many questions where every single medical question is answered no. Very few people that I know in my life can answer no to every single one of those questions. Everybody's taking some kind of medication. I recognize not really everybody, but 98% of people are on a blood pressure med or a cholesterol med or an anxiety med or whatever else. Or if they're not on a med, they went to the ER in the last, 5 years because they had a thing or whatever. Most people have an opportunity to say yes to something. So when that stuff's all no, and then we get a bunch of things that are really not a big deal, but I have to ask questions now because they said no to all this stuff. That's frustrating. It's a waste of our time. It's a waste of your time. When people just list the medications and they don't tell us what those diagnoses are. Hey, my client's on this med, this med, this med. If I Google those medications, it's going to tell me a lot of really bad things that those meds could be used for. A lot of really good things too, but how am I supposed to figure out which one it is without calling you up, asking you questions? Now you got to ask your clients again. Everybody tells me I don't like underwriting sometimes because they always ask questions. When they ask questions, I have to go to my client, and every time I go to my client, I have to resell that policy. I have an opportunity to lose that policy every time I talk to them. So I want to make sure I get that information on the application up front. So the next time I talk to them can be, hey, great news. Here's your offer. Big deal right there. And then the other thing is so many times people want to have their beneficiary be their neighbor or their friend or whatever. And I need to make sure that person has interest in the insured's life. Tell me why the neighbor's the beneficiary. Tell me why the friend's the beneficiary. Hard to make a sense for why that would be. But listen, I hear a lot of crazy stories about stuff that I couldn't make up if anybody paid me to. And often it makes sense. So just tell the story.
Okay. So go ahead. Is there more?
I was going to dip. I saw a question earlier about insulin.
I want you to answer that, but I wanted just clarity on myself, just so selfishly. Yeah. So I don't take anything except for vitamins. And okay. I go to the doctor. I'm very, very healthy. However, about 4 years ago, I was at an FFL event and I slammed my finger in a car door. And I went to an urgent care. They couldn't fix me. I went to one hospital in LA. It looked like an insane asylum. So I Googled best hospital in LA. And then I ended up at Cedars-Sinai at like midnight. And I had to speak at 9 a.m. And so I was there till 5 a.m. And the whole thing, they sewed my finger up, but I was at 3 different things. So now knowing I go to apply for insurance, I can mark no, but as long as I disclose to my agent, Like, so this is the agent now challenging the client. Listen, you've got to have been to a doctor, an urgent care, an ER, anything that's happened in the past 5 to 7 years, just tell me, because they're going to see it anyway. So the one thing on my thing, though, if my agent types in client, slam finger in car door, went to a few different hospitals, ended up at doctor's office, got finger sewn, no further complications. But that right there goes, you see the agent is challenging the client a little bit more, getting some information, digging in, and getting an answer, and the client could be healthy. Could be, as long as there's no medical records, I've got no prescriptions, I've got no medical history. So does that give you guys confidence for these agents to go, well, my client is no all the way down. Well, and then you know all the way down, no comments, no nothing, and you want us to approve instantaneously.
Yeah. Okay. So a lot to so I want to jump up and clap with a lot of the things that you just said, but I don't want people to think liar, that everybody who says no is a liar. I recognize I was being very general, and there's lots of people.
No, but it also is.
The more you ask, if you have this extra stuff, there's drop downs to say I went to the hospital and I had a minor injury that was fixed. When underwriters see that a client is disclosing a lot of information, some of it's not a big deal, but they're still sharing that information. It tells the underwriter that the agent is doing their job and getting this information. It tells us that the client is being as honest as they can in disclosing information. We're far more likely to look at some other information that wasn't disclosed as an incidental, oopsie, I forgot, because there's all these other things that I thought about, but I forgot the one thing here, that's a minor thing, and there, that's a minor thing. We are far more willing to overlook some of those concerns because we have this other evidence that says this person's really trying to tell us the full story. I get it, they're not perfect. So we will give them the benefit of the doubt far more frequently than the person who says no to everything and has 10 diagnoses that they didn't tell us about. We're going to ask a lot more questions of that guy, right? So it's really important to arm. When you have an underwriter who is confident in the quality of their information and they have a large quantity of information, they will be aggressive. When you have an underwriter who is starved of information or is concerned about the quality of that information, they are going to be conservative because it's hard to take a risk when you don't know a lot about that risk.
Awesome. Okay, here's a clarifying question too. I know that as an insurance company, your business is based off of assuming risk, right? That's actuarial science. And so there are thresholds or bands or whatever term we're going to use based on where more information is needed. Is there like a sub 500,000 or sub million, or what I loved is Devon opens up. He's like, just so you know, Todd's a BAMF right over here. He's large case team, 5 million plus. All right. Todd's a player, ladies and gentlemen. So I'd imagine at a $5 million potential liability, which might require reinsurance, et cetera, all the things that could happen, you're going to go deep into this client's history based on the amount of risk at which NLG is assuming. Where is there like, because agents will go, they'll want 3 million, and then all of a sudden, well, they didn't get approved, or they got rated, and now they want 500,000. Like if in the end they see there's some health issues, just start with the 500, and if he gets fully approved, then we can increase it. Right? There might be more stipulations. Like, where are those bands for you that require more things from underwriters?
Love that question. So if you look at our field manual, there are we've got bands broken down by products, right? Okay, so IUL, we're willing to be generally more aggressive than we are with term. That's a profitability and a pricing kind of a thing. But within each of the products, there are ages and face amounts that we are willing to accept offers on without examine labs and without APSs, without even really having to do much of anything. And most of that is the business that you guys are submitting. Under $2 million, under the age of 50, with our IUL product, even it's $3 million. But that's really our bread and butter. Our bread and butter is this, $100,000 to $2 million, whether it's term or IUL. We'll go up to $3 million on the IUL really aggressively. We are made to get as much of that kind of business in the door and out the door as quickly as we can, priced a way that we can. We've got our prices structured in a way where If it's worse than standard, we have that Express 1 and Express 2 bucket. I might be getting too deep into the woods here, but real quick, these pricing buckets allow us some way to make a good aggressive offer without getting all of those APIs. Without asking million questions and getting all those tests. I can say that's about $1 to $2 million. I can make that work with very little information. So short answer, 100,000 to $2 to $3 million. We can be super aggressive with very little information. We do everything we can to get that case in and out the door automatically. We'll instant approve up to $2 million.
Awesome. Oh, let's go. Devon is I see Devon is cranking over there on the questions. So everyone who's asking questions, great job. Thank you. And I hope that you guys are reading the questions and learning as Todd and I just talk about underwriting and the good old days.
All day.
Reflecting back, 36% of NLG's IMOs, agencies, have never hit underwriter. Majority. FFL is 23%. Okay, so not great. That is a third less for all those who are mathematicians. Now, instant means paid in a week. Now, Devon, we're all salespeople here. We've got, like to get paid fast, drive fast, get paid fast, all the things. What do we got to do? What level do we need to get to? 28, 30, 32? How do we get that paid in a week to paid in 2 days? How do we get that? Is there a that with that simplified product? Is there a conversation with the Bobs in the high tower talking about, if we're going to play in this simplified world, we need to pay them in a simplified world? Just asking a question, putting it in your ears. You go to the conversations. That is a thing that I would imagine does hold up a little bit of business to NLG, is that there are these more delayed sale payout cycles. So that, not that we're going to retool the whole banking model of a 175-year-old company, but this is something that the newer companies are doing, which is bringing in more of this fast-paced business. As Todd has said, anything between 100,000 and 2 million can be instantly approved. That sounds like a good model we'd like to service more and pay them faster. Drop a yes in the comments below if you'd like Devon to explore how to get us paid faster, as that, we're just FFL, Devon, Go ahead.
So, you guys can get paid within 4 days. Here's how our commissions work. The commission cutoff is on a Thursday. So if your policies issue and pay Thursday, you get paid Tuesday. So we're still going to pay our commission cycle normal. Thursday is cut off, you get paid Tuesday. Let's say that the policy doesn't draft until Friday. You make the following Thursday commission run and you get paid that Tuesday. That's how the process is going to be. Full transparency, we're still in the conversations about instant decision IUL. I don't think we're going to pay daily. I still think it's going to be weekly, but that's conversations that we're having right now. Out of full transparency, it's because of system limitations. That's a big reason as to why.
Well, as we bring you more business, you'll have more money to improve your systems. So
exactly, yeah. Once you guys hit 100 million, I will definitely have an appetite for that.
Okay, you heard it here first. When we do 100 million of that LG, we're going to get daily pay, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, any final comments? Todd, you're a magician, and so the sand and the diabetes. I've been dealing with not dealing with, thankfully, but selling clients, and that was a very incredible way to explain diabetes is sand in the blood, scratching and getting clogged. And you got a clog on the toe and, not good, but, take care. I'm backing up out of this, but any final thoughts, gentlemen, to send us off and to cheer on these agents?
So I would say, don't be afraid of underwriters. Don't be afraid of underwriting. Focus on the completeness think of it as a story. The application's a story. This is your client telling a story of why I am a good risk, and here's all the information to help you price me the right way. If there's challenges, call your underwriters. We really we love to help our agents get business on the books. We know our job is easy. We sit here, and the business to us, the applications come to us here. The ones that are out there talking to these agents, talking to 9 or trying to sit with 9 before you get that first and you get that person that finally. I've been in your shoes. We underwriters know how important these cases are, and we want to help you get to those cases, get those cases paid. So think of us as partners to help find solutions. We're not roadblocks. And I think if you can walk into these things with that kind of a mindset, it'll really help the way that you approach the business.
Yeah, and I'll just
I'll
say
pass to
thank
Devin.
you. And if an underwriter answered their call every single time an agent called, they'd never be able to issue cases. So they're there for you, but please don't call them on little things, because the time they're spending on phones, they could approve 5-10 cases by then. So our service is better, but I want to make sure it stays that way. But honestly, just thank you guys for having us on this call. We look forward to helping you earn your business, help you guys grow. And again, FFL did $100,000 in 2019. Last year, you guys did 30 million. So it's brewing more and more. And Grady, just thank you to you and your staff. And I appreciate all you guys that submit your apps to us. Seriously. Thank you.
We appreciate you, man. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Devin. NLG, phenomenal partner, and looking to grow and not double or triple that number, and more fun to come. So, gentlemen, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you all for joining us today. This gets more and more fun with you guys joining up. I hope you're enjoying it. We are the only live call in insurance, so we're very proud of that. And beyond that, guys, make it a great day, make it a great week, and we will see you next week. Bye for now.